Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a really powerful idea using a fascinating historical paradox. And it all boils down to one simple question. No, really, just think about that for a second. What if your entire world had changed for the better, but because you never got the memo, you just kept living the exact same way? Well, this isn't some philosophical thought experiment. It actually happened.
Okay, so our story kicks off with what should have been this massive, incredible moment of celebration. We're talking about August 1945, when Korea was finally liberated after decades of occupation. But, for a whole lot of people, the good news, well, it didn't arrive for a long, long time.
So picture this. August 15th, 1945. Korea is officially a free nation. But remember, this is way before the internet, before 24-hour news. So for thousands of Koreans who were living abroad in places like Manchuria or on the super remote island of Sakhalin, the news of their own freedom, it just didn't get there. Not for months. And in some cases, not even for years.
And this is where things get really wild, right? It creates this massive paradox. On paper, they were totally free. They were citizens of a newly liberated country. But in their actual day-to-day lives, nothing had changed. They were still living with the same old despair of being occupied. And why? All because the good news hadn't reached them yet. Their freedom was a fact, for sure, but it just wasn't their experience. So that story about a delayed freedom, that's pretty incredible on its own. But believe it or not, there's an even more extreme example of this whole phenomenon. And this one is about a single man whose war just never seemed to end. It all comes down to one single number. 29. So what's so special about that number? Well, that's the number of years a single soldier kept fighting World War II after it was already over. Yeah, you heard that right. This is the unbelievable story of Hiro Onoda. He was a Japanese intelligence officer stationed on Lubang Island in the Philippines during World War II. And when the war ended in 1945, well, he didn't get the news. Or maybe more accurately, he got it and he flat out refused to believe it. And this right here, this is the core of the whole problem. The fact was, the war was over. Peace had been declared. But Onoda's personal reality, that was being dictated by something else entirely. His orders. He was ordered to never surrender. So any reports he heard about the war ending, he just couldn't accept them. For him, the war was still happening.
3 decades, they tried everything. They dropped leaflets from planes, search parties went looking for him, but he saw it all as enemy propaganda. It wasn't until 1974, think about that, 1974, that his old aging commander was actually flown out to the island to find him and personally, officially relieve him of his duty. And only then, when he heard it from a source he trusted, did Onoda finally accept the news. His 29-year war was finally over.
Okay, so we've got these two incredible stories of delayed news, the liberation of Korea and this lone soldier's war. So why are we talking about them? Well, it's because together they paint this really powerful picture. They were actually used as an analogy to explain a really complex idea, an idea that's right at the heart of faith.
So look at this. In both of these stories, you see the exact same split, right? On one side, you've got the objective fact, Korea is free, the war is over. But then on the other side, you've got the lived reality. People are still living like captives, a soldier is still fighting. And the bridge between those two things, the one piece that was missing, was actually hearing and believing the good news.
And this is where we get to the source of this whole explainer. These stories, these analogies, they actually come from a sermon by Pastor Hyung Joo. And his whole goal was to explain why one of the most central words in Christianity, the gospel, literally translates to good news. This analogy is basically the key that unlocks what that really means.
Right, so if the story of the Korean liberation and Onoda's war is the analogy, then what's the good news that they're supposed to be explaining? Let's break down that core message, straight from the source.
Okay, so the word gospel, which is bogum in Korean, literally just means good news or glad tidings. Now, in the context of this sermon, it's defined very specifically. It's the message that humanity can be saved because of what Jesus Christ did.
And according to the sermon, this good news isn't just one thing. It kind of unfolds in 2 main parts. First, there's the message of forgiveness, that your past mistakes and sins are forgiven.
and that then leads to the second part, the offer of salvation and eternal life to anyone who accepts it.
And to back this up, the sermon points to a specific passage from the book of Romans. It says that this justification, being made right with God, is a free gift. But check out this really crucial part. It says it's given through faith and to be received by faith. See the pattern? Just like the news about Korea's freedom or the end of the war, it's something you have to actively receive.
In all of this, it brings us right back to the main point. The power of any good news isn't just in the thing that happened. The real power, the thing that actually changes things for you, is unlocked by something else: belief.
So here's the logic that ties this whole thing together. A totally new reality can exist, whether that's freedom or peace or salvation. But that new reality, it has absolutely no effect on you without the news. And it's not enough for the news to just exist. It has to be heard. But even more than that, and this is the key, the news has to be believed. Belief is the catalyst. It's the thing that takes an objective fact out there in the world and makes it part of your personal lived experience.
Now, this sermon uses this powerful logic to explain a specific article of faith. But you can see how the principle itself is much bigger than that, right? And it leaves us with this final, really provocative question. What good news might already be a fact in your own life, just waiting for you to really hear it and to finally believe it?